Hey YouTube, it's 2022 and I'm back in a big way with my first laptop to review this year. This is the 2022 HP Victus. It's got the i7-12700H, the RTX 3060, the 100% sRGB screen, and as far as I know, it's the top of the line model that they'll be offering. Unless, obviously you can pay more and get a bigger, more storage space, things like that. But as far as the hardware, the primary hardware, this is pretty much the top of the line. Now, physically, it's almost identical to last year. Unfortunately, it does still have the screen wobble. But there are two things that are worth pointing out. One that is on the left side, we have our USB-C port is now Thunderbolt 4, or excuse me, on the right side. And then on the left side of the laptop, we have this little vent here, radiator. It gives a little bit of extra cooling. This was previously only something you saw on like the Omen, and they've added it to the Victus this year, and more cooling is always good. Taking a look at the bottom, we've got the same grill, the same fans as the Victus last year. And if you want a more detailed look at the ports, the size, the weight, things like that, I'll link my review from last year down below where I measure it and go into all that stuff. The keyboard and trackpad are the same as last year. Not a memorable typing experience, but also not a poor one by any means. The speakers are the same, which sounded above average to me, and objectively louder than other budget laptops. You still can't get RGB in the keyboard, just basic white backlighting. My testing app agrees that the screen is 99.9% sRGB. It says 270 nits, but that's just kind of the default I think it tends to read for non-HDR screens. It definitely seemed closer to the advertised 300 nits, if not a little higher. In my battery test, setting the screen brightness to 30%, the screen at 60 Hz, and in quiet mode, the 70 watt-hour battery lasted for 9 hours. Impressive. It seems Intel might be trying to close the gap a little in battery life with AMD. Taking a closer look at hardware, it comes with high-quality DDR5 RAM, and the SSD is even PCIe Gen 4. The pimple under the makeup is that the 3060 is only rated for a max of 100 watts. I believe it's 80 watts plus 20 dynamic boost. Running a low power graphics card in a budget machine was maybe acceptable in 2021, but in 2022 it's not a great look for a full-size laptop. Jumping right into thermals, the Victus barely broke a sweat in any of the stress tests. The hottest it got was in the graphics only stress test, but still only an average temperature of 90 in the CPU and mid 70s in the GPU. It actually ran a bit cooler in the combined stress test running Cinebench and Unique Haven benchmark. When stress testing in performance mode, the fans ran around 53 decibels and didn't have any whine or other undesirable kind of noise going on with them. Opening up the Omen Command Center, noticeably gone is the ability to do undervolting. In fact, there's really only two useful things you can do in here. You can change your performance settings between quiet, default, and performance, and you can change the fan speed simply between automatic or max. In my final stress test I normally run, which is letting a game idle for an hour or more, the flaw in the Victus really stands out. It's not the temperatures, they're great. Of course they are great because the 3060 is only running at an average of 60 watts here. The problem being, it seems that the 200 watt power brick is simply not enough to let you take anywhere near full advantage of what the hardware is capable of, or even the 80 watts it should be running at. Finally, our benchmarks, and 3D Mark the weak 3060 holds it back, but still a respectable score. No surprises in Cinebench, the i7-12700H performs just like it should, smoking any processor I've tested to date, scoring 3,000 points, or nearly 25% above the 5800H. Our first gaming benchmark, Far Cry 5 on ultra settings, comes in at 105 frames per second. The Victus is on Cloud 9, coming in at second only to the Legion 5 Pro with the upgraded RAM. You can turn off the lap display and hook it up to an external monitor to squeeze a little bit more performance, making it actually the highest benchmark I've gotten to date in Far Cry 5. I believe this boost is actually from freeing up a little bit of power more so than bypassing the integrated graphics, but I need to do a little more testing. And in Cyberpunk 2077, it's back down to earth for the Victus. The more graphics card oriented title, the Legion 5 Pro, is 11% better with ray tracing enabled. It's close to tying the MSI Delta I reviewed last year at 67 frames per second. In Forza 5, using the built-in benchmark set to the extreme preset, the Victus got 57 frames per second. If you want to see how the Victus stacks up in more games, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss my game testing video that I'll try and get released sometime next week. Before we talk about price, I'm just going to briefly go over the problems I had with my HP laptops, the Omen 16 and the Victus last year. The Omen's problems were smaller, the corner bezel of the screen wasn't clipped into place, and the command center software constantly crashed. The Victus had a much bigger problem in that any RAM I put in it just ran significantly slower, 2660 megahertz instead of the 3200 than it should have. Finally, a few months ago, someone commented down on the video and actually said, "I've got this laptop and it doesn't do that, you should do your research." Well, I asked in Discords, I tried reaching out to everyone I could and didn't get a response. So it's good to know that it was an isolated incident, but I just wanted to put that information out there. HP definitely burned me a little last year. But fortunately, no problems so far, like manufacturing-wise or anything with the Victus I got this year. So the Victus is currently $1,500, which puts it in kind of the lower mid-tier gaming laptop price range. Is the Victus a lower mid-tier gaming laptop? No, not really when you compare, at least in America, what else you could buy for the price of $1,500. I mean, you can get the laptop I'm using right now, a Legion 5 Pro with the full power RTX 3070 easily right now for around that $1,500 price point. You can bump up to $1,600 and get the Asus G14 with the 6700 MS in it. It's really sleek for like $1,650, I think. But like I said, it's not necessarily a bad laptop, and when it inevitably goes on sale down to the $1,300 price range, I might consider it, and obviously it's going to be priced different in whatever region you're in. So who's the Victus for? Well, it certainly can play any modern game I've tested reasonably at 1080p, but really I think this configuration in particular is kind of more higher end with the high quality 100% sRGB screen. It's going to be a little bit better maybe for like a content creator, someone who can take full advantage of that screen. They get that fast Gen 4 SSD load times and take advantage of that i7-12700H and maybe don't need the graphic power as much. Alright, that's all I got. If you got any questions, make sure you let them down below. And like I said, subscribe for my follow-on video where I'll test some games and try and go over my final thoughts on anything I missed. Thanks so much for watching.